Alright, ladies and gents, beautiful people, today is the day where we continue the series where we go through every single weapon class in Destiny 2 and talk about the best weapons in that class, generally talking about one of each affinity, kinetic, stasis, strand, arc, solar, and void, and today we are doing rockets. Rockets. Previously on this series, we have covered LMGs, fusion rifles, pulse rifles, bows, SMGs, assault rifles, and hand cannons. We are going to be doing every weapon class for this series, so comment down below which special weapon class that is not fusion rifle that you would like to see next. And of course, remember, if you ever want to get your games in their DLC for a cheaper price, make sure you head over to Instant Gaming, the top link in the description, along with their free monthly game giveaway. That'll be the second link towards the top description. Alright, let's go ahead and dive right in. Of course, there are no kinetic rockets, so we will start off with the Darkness family. We'll go ahead and talk about the Strand, because I feel like the Strand rockets are kind of lacking, my boy. Obviously, we're not talking about the Solstice rocket, that it's a precision frame with no damage perks. Terrible. Absolute dog water. So, that leaves us with one option in the Semiotician. The Semiotician is a Strand rocket that released with this season, Season of the Witch. And it is a high impact frame, meaning it is going to be doing 10% less damage than your aggressive and your adaptive frame rocket launchers. Those are the most desired frames for rockets. So it's already going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage, but when you only have two options of Strand rockets and one is actually dog water, this is all you're left with. And if we go ahead and throw up this weapons perk pool, you'll notice that in the first column, there is one good perk, Field Prep. And then in the fourth column, there is three decent options. You have Frenzy, which is a 15% damage buff. You have Bipod, and you have Explosive Light. Now, I crafted mine with Field Prep and Bipod just because it's the only rocket that can do that. And ideally, I'm going to be using this rocket in GMs, if anything, to match a Strand Surge. And having 15 rockets in a GM is definitely useful and definitely helpful. I would never use a Semiotician inside of an actual boss damage phase, unless it's a Strand Surge, and that's the only surge there is for like a Master Raid or a Master Dungeon. But even then, I would still try and look for some different options. It's not terrible, as it is the best Strand rocket in the game, but its competition is practically non-existent. However, it is still the best Strand rocket in the game if you do want to go get one. But I am definitely still waiting for us to get an actual S-tier Strand rocket. Okay, now let's talk about a Giga Chad rocket launcher. That is, of course, the stasis kind. None other than the Cold Comfort. As we know, the Cold Comfort was introduced to us with the Ghost of the Deep dungeon. Primarily, people farmed it from the Ekthar encounter, myself included. And there is one particular role on this rocket launcher that people were aiming to get. If I go ahead and throw up the perk pool for you, you can probably see exactly what I'm talking about. In the third column, I'm only going to recommend Envious Assassin, because if you need tracking module, that's a skill issue, my boy. But what makes this rocket launcher so good is A, it's an aggressive frame. Remember, you either want aggressive frames or adaptive frames. Those are the rockets that have the highest base damage. High impacts are behind aggressive and adaptives, and then at the very, very bottom, you have precision frames, which do 20% less than aggressives and adaptives. The Cold Comfort, being an aggressive frame rocket, is very, very good. Envious Assassin in the third column is very, very good. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Envious Assassin can get your rocket up to 4. Although most of the time with Envious Assassin, you're going to be holding 3 rockets in your magazine. And then in the fourth column, yeah, you have Explosive Light. Yeah, you have Bipod. But my guy, dude, you have Bait and Switch. Bait and Switch? What? Bait and Switch? Yeah, you have Bait and Switch. As we know, Bait and Switch is one of the most popular damage perks on any weapon that it is on, as it is a 35% damage buff for just dealing damage with all of your weapons within a 7-second window. Very easy to proc for such a massive, massive damage buff. Oh, and did you know that Bait and Switch also buffs your Pack Hunter rockets as well, unlike Explosive Light? On top of being just a 10% stronger damage buff that you don't need orbs to proc. Yeah, Envious, Bait and Switch. This rocket is used to absolutely dump, and I mean dump your load so fast, especially if you are a hunter with the Radiant Dance Machine's exotic boots. Proc your multi-dodge, fire away. You can dump all of your rockets in the time that bait and switch is first proc for that initial 10 seconds, you don't have to reproc it. You will be able to dump out all of your rockets if you are quick enough. On top of having Envious Assassin and bait and switch, another thing that makes this rocket so good is Restoration Ritual. Reviving allies or defeating combatants with finishers reloads this weapon and readies an emergency reload for the next time this weapon runs out of ammo. Meaning, most of the time, you're going to have that 3-round rocket magazine with Envious Assassin, Restoration Ritual proc. That's basically a 4 rocket mag. If you can get it up to a 4 rocket mag, which it's rare, but you sometimes can, that means your Restoration Ritual is giving you a 5 rocket round magazine. That's unheard of before. Even in Destiny 1, that's unheard of. You throw in one of the strongest damage buffs in the game that boosts your Pack Hunter rockets, you have yourself one of the best rocket launchers in the game. Point blank, period. Alright everybody, so now we're going to go ahead and segue over to the light Affinity rocket launchers, and we're going to start off with the weakest of the 3, that being the Void rocket launcher. As much as I would love to put my royal entry here, I can't do that, man. That's a precision frame. Nope, sorry. I know some people might be thinking, what about the Braidtech Osprey? Nah. Nope, not putting it here, homie, sorry. The rocket that I have chose for the Void section of the video is actually, believe it or not, going to be the Red Herring. Yes, introduced to us with the Witch Queen, this Void rocket launcher is an adaptive frame. So that is good, that's a plus. However, where it starts to lack is definitely in its perk pool. If I go ahead and throw up this weapon's perk pool for you, you're going to notice something. You're kind of liking the big oomph. Right, in column 3, right, Field Prep is the only perk I'm going to recommend. So you crouch, you got some extra reload speed along with those extra reserves. And then your damage perks in column 4, I mean, yeah, you have Tricorn there, but I feel like there's not going to be many people that can get the biggest buff from Tricorn, right? It takes a little bit of work. So the other perks that I'll recommend to you are Frenzy, good old Frenzy. Remember, Frenzy grants 15% increased damage, 100 handling, and 100 reload speed for 7 seconds. And all you have to do is just be in combat in order for this perk to be proc, which sometimes will not happen at the very start of a damage phase, which is a bit unfortunate. So if you don't want to use Frenzy as your damage perk, you're left with Lasting Impression. Alright, in the background gameplay, the Red Herring that I'm using has Field Prep and Lasting Impression on it, and Lasting Impression is an overall 20% increase in your total damage. However, there's going to definitely be some instances where your rockets blow up for immune numbers just because the damage phase ended after you shot your rocket, but before the Lasting Impression could actually detonate and go off, right? It can still put out some decent numbers if you're just crouch spamming shooting your rocket. However, then at that point, you're limiting yourself to only shooting the rocket. You can't put in any swaps. And Lasting Impression, it's a decent damage perk, but it's not a world star. It's no explosive light or bait and switch or anything like that. Unfortunately, man, we're just going to stay in the game where we just really don't have any Omega super good Void rockets. So the Red Herring is going to have to take the place as the best Void rocket in the game right now. Alright, let's move over to a more suitable, stronger option for damage, right? And I'm talking about the Arc rocket launchers, because we're going to talk about 2 of them because they're so similar to one another. I am referring to none other than the good old Hothead, which you can decrypt your Vanguard Ingrams into Hotheads this day and age if you never got one, and the ever super duper similar one, the Blowout, which is basically the Crucible version of the Hothead. Both of these rocket launchers, of course, are ARC adaptive frames. Check that off the list. We love adaptive and aggressive frame rockets. And if I go ahead and throw up the Hotheads perk pull up for you, you'll notice, first of all, it's way smaller than the Blowouts, which we'll get to in a second. But you'll see that the Hotheads perk pool has just a slew of really good perks to use. The best 3 perks in column 3 for the Hothead easily are Field Prep, Demolitionist, and Auto-Loading Holster. You can't go wrong with either of those, and Demolitionist was absolute peak during the Starfire meta, and it may come back with a vengeance whenever we get the Song of Flame new super during the final shape. We'll just have to wait and see. And the 4th column, you have 4 good options, but 3 options that are better than the 4th, right? You have Vorpal, 10%, but I mean, come on, dude. Explosive Light, that's a juicer. That's a juicer perk. We like to see that. This one does have Lasting Impression as well, which, like I said earlier, is a 20% overall damage buff. And then you also have Clown Cartridge. Now, before Season 21 dropped, the main roles that people were searching for were things like Auto-Loading Holstered Explosive Light, Demo Explosive Light, Field Prep Explosive Light, and then you would basically cope if you got like a Lasting Impression in the 4th column, right? Nobody was ever really hunting for a Vorpal weapon just because Vorpal's only a 10% damage buff. But nowadays, the main role that I use on my hothead, especially in these 2 recent seasons, have got to be Field Prep and Clown Cartridge. Obviously, Clown Cartridge on rocket launchers always puts 2 in the mag, and Field Prep gives you more reserves, and when you're crouched, you have a lot more reload speed, allowing you to dump your rockets really, really fast. Of course, Bipod kind of replaces this role, but neither Field Prep nor Clown Cartridge takes away any of your damage. It's a role that doesn't give you any damage buffs, doesn't hurt your damage because of Bipod. It is literally the role designed to just dump out as many rockets as you can without sacrificing any damage loss. If you are going to use a rocket for a damage rotation or swaps, I feel like the hothead has got replaced in that field, but you could totally still do it if you don't have any of the other ones. And then if we go ahead and look at the blowouts perk pool, first of all, you're going to notice it's really, really fat. There's just a lot of junk in here that's kind of makes getting the roll you want a bit more difficult. But in column 3, your main perk options are Field Prep and Demo. Then in column 4, you have Frenzy, Lasting Impression, or Explosive Light. Yeah, Vorpal's still here, but like I said, it's only 10%. The perk pool's a lot fatter. There's no auto-loading holster, but outside of that, these rockets are borderline the same. They're both really, really good. However, for the best DPS rocket in the game, they no longer hold that crown. But these arc rockets are still really, really good. And before I forget, the most important column 2 perk for rocket launchers is going to be Impact Casing. Impact Casing gives increased damage on direct hits, resulting in a 2.2% total damage increase. Both these rockets are really, really good, and the Hothead is one of the most iconic rockets in the game. That's why they both take up the arc slot of the portion of this video. Happy hunting. Alright, now we talk about the solar rocket of choice, the best for last. We are talking, of course, about none other than the reprised version of the Apex Predator from Last Wish. In Season 21, the Last Wish raid weapons got all of their weapons reprised with new perk pools, along with craftable weapon patterns. People then flocked to Light GG and just was curious, yo, what does the Apex Predator have? And lo and behold, dude, it is absolutely cracked out how good the Apex Predator is. Okay, so first things first, it is an adaptive frame solar rocket launcher. And before we had this bad boy, we were using the Heathen Vengeance from the Vault of Glass. Of course, it being an adaptive frame is great. That's what we like to see. And if we go ahead and throw up this weapons perk pool, my boy, whoo, damn, oh man, look at what they got. Look at what they cooked up for this rocket launcher second go around in the sandbox. Dude, in the 3rd column, you got Demolitionist, Tried and True Classic, and then, wait for it, Reconstruction. Huh? That's right, baby. That's right. The first rocket launcher in the game with Reconstruction. In the 4th column, you got the Giga Chad of all Giga Chad perks. That being none other than Bait and Switch, my boy. You also have things like Frenzy, Surrounded, and Explosive Light, and Bipod for that matter as well. I mean, look, when you looked at this weapons perk pool for the first time, be real, your jaw hit the floor and was like, wait, what now? They did what? Yeah, Reconstruction, Bait and Switch. This thing is so good. If you were to ask me what is the best rocket launcher in the game, I would tell you the Apex Predator. Now, while the Cold Comfort is the other bait and switch rocket, that rocket is mainly designed to just dump. Get rid of all your rockets. The Apex is so much better for doing swaps and rotations, specifically on the Strand DPS Warlock build. You run Threat of Ascent, Threat of generation, you run the grapple grenade because it has the shortest cooldown. You go rocket, special, special, rocket, rocket, grapple, rocket, special, 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 rocket, grapple, rocket, special, 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 rocket, grapple, rocket. On the Strand DPS Warlock build, you are able to dump out all of your rockets along with a decent amount of special ammo as well. An absolute beast of a rocket launcher. I love this thing. Everybody knows how good it is. And if you are somebody who unfortunately does not have this weapon crafted just yet, look, man, next time Last Wish is the farmable raid, get some homies together, hop in an LFG, and go farm Cali until you get this weapons pattern. It is way too strong to not have the roll for it. The roll for it, by the way, reconstructed bay insolence, my guy, like, come on. It's solar! You can pair it with a Cartesian, an Airmite, empty vessel, although empty vessel literally gets outclassed by Wilderflight, even with triple surges. It's just kind of insane. Yo, when are we gonna get the double barrel solar special GL? I would love to pair that with this rocket launcher. I've said enough how good this thing is. 95% of the community knows how cracked out the Apex Predator is, and I would 1,000,000% crown this as the best rocket launcher currently in Destiny 2. Cha-ching! Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people, thank you so much for watching today's video. Remember, if you ever want to get your games in the DLC for a cheaper price, you make sure you hit up Instant Gaming, top 2 links in the description. And don't forget, comment down below which special weapon class you would like us to do. That is not fusion rifles, as we have already done that. You guys be safe, take care, consider subscribing, be safe at your Halloween parties, and we'll see your beautiful faces in the next one. Adios!